I'll take that one on board. But I did want to start the show, gents, with a conversation about Big Ange Postecoglou, George's expressions, many phone calls on talk. Their Spurs fans are fuming, absolutely fuming across social media. Most calling for his head, angry at the starting lineup. They were bad last night. 0 shots on target in 90 minutes against AZ Alkmaar. Staffy, do you think the end is nigh? Do you think the sacking of Big Ange is getting closer?
Well, personally, I didn't see the game because obviously they were playing same time as United, and I just watched the highlights after. And there's only so much the highlights can show you, really, if you don't watch the game. But I looked at the highlights, I didn't see anything inspiring at all. I don't really remember seeing anything where I'm like, oh wow, Spurs could have been 1-0 here or this or that. It was just AZ Alkmaar, and I mean even the goal they conceded is comical. You're saying they had 0 shots on target? No, they had 1, and it was on their own goal. That's so they did have 1. But in terms of Ange getting sacked, listen, you can't sack him right now. I believe. I mean, listen, you're out of 2 cups. You're still in the Europa League. I think the time to act should have been like before January. I did think like early in the season they've reached a point where it doesn't matter to me who's at fault. Is it the manager? Is it the recruitment? Is it the players? Sometimes you could just tell when it's the end of the road between a club and its manager, and when the relationship just becomes too toxic and it reaches a dead end, you're better on moving on. I think that they kind of like passed that. They really don't have anything to play for the rest of the season outside of the Europa League. So there's no point of doing that right now. You got to keep him. If he gets knocked out, he gets knocked out. I mean, they still have a very good chance to still advance. They got, as he said, next game at home. The narrative will change if they go and they spank them like 4-0. I do remember the Ange out talks kind of calmed down when they like went on like 4 in a row. They had like 4 wins in a row recently.
3, I think 3 or 4. Yeah, 3 or 4.
3 or 4. So they kind of calmed down and they're just coming back up. I hear what they're talking about. I heard Kate yesterday saying even the football's not even good anymore. So I kind of hear it, but no, I wouldn't sack him right now. If the season is over and they're out of the Europa League and they want to move on to a different direction, they, I mean, I guess sack him and get an interim, but it would be illogical to do it right now.
What you're saying, Don? Because there's been a lot of the narrative from a lot of Spurs fans has been get off the manager's back. We've had the injuries, the bad form, the bad performances were because of injuries, but they've got a relatively fit squad now. And, you know, so when I was listening to expressions last night as a case in point, just saying, look, the injury excuse was there, but people are back. The squad's thicker. They spent money in January, and still there is a lack. I mean, there was a lack of desire last night. And I think there was have you seen the free kick? Have you seen the free kick that's gone viral? The clip where
I didn't watch the game.
There's this free kick they took, and when you've done your bit, they try to take it short and pass it around, and it honestly was like watching a. Have you ever watched like veterans play Sunday League football, like 40-plus-year-olds try and play Sunday League? It's like that. It's like their bodies don't move. They don't know what they're doing. It was just horrendous, but it does feel now like a lot of Tottenham fans have just lost it with Big Ange. Like the excuses are almost over, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. Because even before the injuries, you know, they were having similar sort of problems. When it comes to injuries themselves, you got to look at him and his training methods, right? Because there's one too many players that are picking up like hamstring injuries. You've got Solanke, his injury record before he came Spurs, you know, wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't the worst. Now you're seeing him getting injured again. He just came back, you know, rushing players back. Like, remember when we played Spurs, he brought back Romero and Van de Ven for that game, and they both got injured, bro. I'm pretty sure they both in the first half, right? So you got to look at that. And tactically, when you speak about Ange, you know how he's going to set up. You know he's going to invert both the fullbacks. You know he's going to leave the centre-backs to the back. You know he's going to play people out of position, right? It's just a recipe for disaster right now, isn't it? And he doesn't want to change his ways. That's what's killing him right now. He doesn't want to change his ways when it's very clear to see that what he's doing is not sustainable, and it hasn't been. You know,
I think he did change his ways, though. I'll be honest. I just don't think it changed to the better. Because I watch him now.
How does he change his ways, though? He still plays the same way.
No, but so like Kate was saying that yesterday, and I don't pay attention to Spurs that much to break it down. But the football doesn't look the same. Like you could just look at it and be like, okay, they're not playing the same way, same football. They're not as entertaining as they were. They're not as attacking as they are. I feel like he tried a little bit more defensive approach, and it's not like they're a good defensive team. They look like a scared team now, and I don't know how to explain it better than that. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have the best breakdown for it. Spurs were losing while just playing gung-ho football. Now they lose and they just play coward football. That's the difference that I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like they just went one step back anyways. And they were already bad.
Yeah.
It's like
I mean,
you took a step back while you were bad. It just makes it worse.
Yeah, when I watch some of these players, it kind of just feels like they're fed up. Like they're fed up of this system, bro, because it exposes too many of their weaknesses. That's one thing in it. As a manager, you've got to make sure that you're maximizing as many strengths as you can, on the pitch. And for me, it just feels like he focuses on the attack, and then the defense, he just kind of negates it, But that's a big part of the game, right? If you go look at how many goals they've scored, they're down there. But go check, bro. They've got like how many goals right now, Terry, in terms of the goal.
I mean, I actually haven't looked, but I can look now very quickly. They have, considering where they are in the league, their goal difference is astronomically good for a team in 13th. 13th in the league. They have a plus 14. They've scored 53 goals. To put that into context, City have scored 53. Chelsea have scored 52. Forest at a third have scored 44. Arsenal at a second have scored 51. So they are the joint second highest goal scorers in the league. Only Liverpool have properly eclipsed them on 66. So they score goals for fun. Defensively, they've been poor. And if you put in the comments saying, Terry, there's still injuries. Look, of course, and every team has them, and I'm sure AZ did. I don't even need to look. Everyone has injuries. But this was their starting lineup last night. Vicario, their number one goalkeeper. I know Spence has only come in through the injuries, but I actually think he's better than a lot of their other defenders.
He is.
They've got Archie Gray, who's been a phenomenal young player. Danso, they just spent millions on. Okay? Udogie, they all rate as a left back.
Isn't Danso on loan? Danso's on loan, right?
No, they bought him.
I thought they bought him. They bought him. Madison started, Bentancur, Bergval, who's one of their star signings, Brendan Johnson, £50 million signing, Tell, that they were buzzing about getting, Son, one of their greatest ever players. Off the bench came Solanke. He then came off injured again, but Solanke came on. Porro came on. Sarr came on. Okay? They had on the bench who didn't come on, they had Basuma, Romero, and more, the three names I've heard of as an example. So for me, you're just at a point where you're always going to have some injuries, Tottenham. But there comes a point where you can't be leaning on that. You can't be using that as an excuse all the time. For me personally, I just feel as though okay, so it says no, Danso and Till are both on loan. So I thought I read it.
I just checked. Danso's on loan, but obligation to buy in the summer.
Right. Okay.
Then that's where I got it.
Yeah. Obligations to buy, I just take that as you bought them because you're going to buy it. But yeah, I hear your point. But they've invested in him for the future as an example. So I just don't look at that Tottenham team last night, and I don't want to shit on the Eredivisie because I don't do the whole Farmers League thing, sometimes for a joke, but when I'm talking seriously, I don't. But they're a fifth place team in the Eredivisie who have also got 4 or 5 players out injured. I'm not saying you should be guaranteed to win, because that's disrespectful to the European football. And we've seen many, many upsets and many great games over the history of it. But they didn't lay a glove, boys. I had the game on. It was pitiful to not have a single shot on target. The only shot that went on target, and Jordan said this brilliantly in his video, was a misplaced cross that the goalkeeper caught. That's the only shot, because that wasn't even a shot. It's the only thing that their goalkeeper had to do. That isn't good enough. And I don't like